I remember one, if I can take a little time.
Of course.
I have to explain this a bit. We were doing a shot supposedly on the beach. This was in a soundstage.
I can take a moment to remember one. Continue. I need to explain this a bit. It was said that we were taking a picture on the beach. It was in a good state. His wife set a trap in their Hollywood home in 1958. One question she asked him changed everything. His answer was secretly recorded by a private detective. That tape was not seen or heard for 65 years. The world heard Hudson say something that could have killed him when it finally came out. What he said showed that his marriage was fake, that strong people looked out for him, and that he lived in fear until he died in 1985. This is the talk that Hollywood didn't want you to hear. The beginning of Rock Hudson's life was not on a movie set or a red carpet. His birthday is November 17, 1925, and he was born in Winnetka, Illinois. Catherine Wood and Roy Harold Scherer Sr. were his parents. They were just regular people who worked hard to make ends meet. Winnetka was shy and quiet, not at all like the Hollywood he would later take over. The Scherer family felt the effects of the Great Depression. When Roy was only a few months old, his father lost his job as a car mechanic. Roy Sr. lost his mind and couldn't handle things, so he left his family. Before Roy turned 4, this took place. That boy's heart was deeply hurt by being left behind at a young age. He would always remember how it changed the way he saw the world. Things did not get better. His mother got married again, this time to a guy named Wallace Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald was a former Marine officer who had strict rules for the house. Roy didn't want a new name or a new father, but he had no choice. Fitzgerald took him in. He changed his last name to Fitzgerald and told him what to do. The boy didn't feel strong. His birth name and feeling of belonging were taken away from him. While living with a man who always wanted things to be neat and proper, things got tense at home. Roy was desperate to find a way out during these early years that were full of stress and confusion. Not even as a teen did things just work out. Roy hoped to be an actor. He cared about being on stage. One thing was wrong, though. His words were hard for him to remember. He lost a lot of roles in high school because of this flaw. He tried out for plays many times, but failed each time. People at school and in his class thought he wasn't good at acting. When he tried to get into Hollywood, he had the same problems. Casting agents didn't care about his good looks or the fact that he was 6 feet 5 inches tall if he couldn't deliver his lines. He didn't give up, though. Roy kept trying even though he kept getting turned down, which could have ended his dreams. He would become famous one day because he was so determined. The world called him to serve before Hollywood gave him a chance. During World War II, Roy joined the Navy from 1944 to 1946. It was in the Philippines that he worked as an airplane engineer. The job wasn't very exciting. It was hard, risky, and important. Roy and other mechanics like him kept the planes in the air, tasks going, and the Pacific War going. Being 6'5" tall made him stand out among the other sailors. But what really made him stand out were his guts and hard work. He learned to be disciplined in the war. It taught him to be strong. It also helped him get ready for the fights he would have to face in Hollywood later on. Rock Hudson came back to his home country in 1946 after working as an airplane mechanic in the U.S. Navy during World War II. He only wanted to become an actor when he went to Los Angeles. But it was a lot harder for him to get into Hollywood than he thought. He didn't know anyone. He didn't have any official training. He worked as a truck driver to make money. It helped him pay his bills, but it didn't make him happy. What he did after work made him stand out. He would stand outside the studio gates for hours. His photos and resumes were close to his chest as he hoped that someone important would notice him. He gave his picture to anyone who could help. He kept coming back every day, even though he was ignored or turned away. How persistent he was amazing. The need he had was real. His luck finally changed in 1947. Henry Wilson, a famous agent, saw his picture. Wilson was known for making unknown people popular. He thought Hudson had promise, But he also thought Hudson needed a complete makeover. His name was the first thing to go. Wilson made Rock Hudson. Rock for the Rock of Gibraltar to show that it is strong. For Hudson, the river meant power and flow. The change was more than just the new name. It was strong, simple, and easy to remember. Wilson set up acting classes, speech lessons, dental work, and even help with his balance. Hudson did not like his new name, but he agreed to use it. He knew it would get him into Star Wars. In 1948, he got his first movie part. It was a small part of Fighter Squadron. Hudson only had one line, but it took him 38 tries to get it right. He was scared. He had never done it before. The director was very angry. For being stiff in front of the camera, he yelled at Hudson and called him a big dumb tree. He might have been broken in that moment. Instead, it made him stronger. It took Hudson more lessons. He did more work. He promised himself that he would never feel that bad again. In the fall of that year, Universal Pictures bought his Warner Brothers deal. They thought he could do well. He was sent to the best performing schools. He learned how to talk, dance, fence, sing, and ride a horse. Everything a star man could want. He got better over time. His little parts got bigger. He felt more confident. They kept giving him chances because they knew what he could become. Hudson was in 28 movies between 1948 and 1954. At first, he played small parts or jobs that didn't get him credit, but he kept getting better. Soon, he was getting parts in westerns and action movies. Scarlet Angel and Has Anyone Seen My Gal were some of the movies he was in by 1952. Taking on the part of Bob Merrick in Magnificent Obsession in 1954 changed his life for good. Hudson played a careless playboy whose actions killed a doctor out of selfishness. Even worse, his mistake made the doctor's wife, played by Jane Wyman, lose her sight. The story did not end in sadness, though. He had a lot of guilt in his life and chose to change. He learned how to be a brain surgeon and then helped the woman he had hurt. It's crazy that Jeff Chandler was first offered this part, but turned it down because he thought it was too soapy. This decision made it possible for Hudson to come in. At the time, the movie made over $5 million in the US, which was a lot of money. There were mixed reviews of the movie, but it was a hit because of its bright colors and emotional style. Hollywood couldn't ignore Hudson after he went from being a face in the crowd to a leading guy. Jane Wyman was nominated for an Oscar. Hudson's fame grew quickly by the end of that year. In 1954, he was the 17th most famous person in the United States. At the time, Modern Screen magazine was a big deal among fans. They said he was the year's most famous actor. It wasn't just about money in that title. It showed how much people liked him. He went from being almost unknown to being well known in just 1 year. His face was in a lot of places, like papers and radio shows. Hollywood knew they had found the next big star because fans couldn't get enough of her. Hudson kept showing what he could do. In the 1955 movie All That Heaven Allows, he played a kind gardener who falls in love with a rich widow. People in their small town were shocked by their relationship, which made for a lot of talk. He played the lead role in Written on the Wind the following year, a crazy Texas thriller about greed, family problems, and secrets. In both movies, Hudson showed that she was more than just pretty. He was able to make people feel very sad on film. In the 1950s, he was known as the finest love hero ever. His work in these movies changed the way Hollywood told love stories for a long time. But Giant in 1956 was the very best thing he ever did. He played Bick Benedict, a proud cow baron from Texas. The movie showed how Bick's life changed as Texas did. Hudson was in movies with Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean. Dean gave his last act before his tragic death. If you change the money amounts, the movie made more than $454 million, even though it cost $5.4 million to make. Hudson really changed a lot as Bick. He went from being a stubborn rancher to a man who learned to adapt to new situations. It became one of Hollywood's best epics and dealt with issues like racism, class, and gender roles. The powerful role Hudson played won him his first and only Oscar nomination for Best Actor in 1957. There was more to Hudson than just his good looks. He was nominated, even though he lost to Yul Brynner. It proved he could give powerful shows that people would remember. There were a lot of secrets in Hollywood in the 1950s. They could make or break a star. At that time, Rock Hudson was one of the most famous people in the world. He was known for being good-looking and charming. But behind the scenes, rumors about his personal life made everything dangerous. In 1955, a magazine called Confidential was going to give him away. Henry Wilson, Hudson's agent, knew this could hurt his future. Wilson made a plan because he was known for keeping his star's pictures safe. He set up the wedding between Hudson and his secretary, Phyllis Gates. It wasn't love. Hudson did it to look like he was a great family man. On November 9, 1955, they got married in Santa Barbara. Wilson was one of the few people who were there. Even though Hudson told the press that his marriage was his best thing, his friends and family knew it wasn't true. The studio even gave the tabloids the secrets of other stars in exchange for Hudson's. Hunter and Phyllis Gates met at Wilson's house in October 1954. That meeting wasn't just happen. It was all part of Wilson's plan. They were seen together in a few days. It was called a romance in the gossip pages. Gates moved into Hudson's house on Sunset Boulevard in early 1955. To make it look like they were really together, they planned everything they did. Later, it was said that Gates knew it was a lie the whole time. Some even said she was gay, which would have made her the right partner for this crime. Their love story was really just a way to fix things. They were both acting out parts that were given to them by the town's most important agent. They were married for a short time. Things didn't work out after a short vacation in Jamaica. Gates said that their sex life was rushed and cold. He told her once that all women are dirty. That really hurt. Young guys who said they were fans started calling her late at night. Hudson often didn't get home until the morning after staying out late. It became more likely that he was having affairs with other guys. After the fact, Hudson was with another guy while filming a farewell to arms in Italy, according to a friend. By 1957, they were no longer married. For Gates's split in April 1958, he said that his wife was mentally abusive. Of course, the split was final that same year. He didn't have much to offer when it was time to split up. Gates was shocked when he gave her some money, her car, and a place to stay. So angry and needy was she that she fired her first lawyer and hired a new one. That's when private detective Fred O'Tash came into the picture. O'Tash was famous for finding bad things about Star Wars stars. Gates needed proof of Hudson's personal life so that he could use it against him. He agreed to a better deal in the end. Gates got their house and $250 a week for 10 years, which is about $1.3 million today. He also got stock in his production company. The fight made it clear that they didn't trust each other anymore. Behind the closed doors of his own home in January 1958, Rock Hudson's life took a bad turn. His wife, Phyllis Gates, sat him down and gave him a Rorschach test, which he didn't expect. She said that his answers, in which he saw a lot of snakes and butterflies, meant more than he knew. She said butterflies showed that he liked women. She claimed that snakes meant a desire for men. Gates told him in a calm voice, "I'm not condemning you, but if you know what's wrong, wouldn't you want to fix it?" It looked like the wife was pleading for help, but it was really a move in a bigger game. With the help of a private detective named Fred O'Tash, Gates was looking for proof of a divorce. Psych tests could be used as weapons in the 1950s, and looks were very important in Hollywood. That night went on longer. Hudson walked right into the trap that Gates had set. O'Tash recorded their talk in secret and kept the tape a secret for more than 65 years. During that time, no one would have thought that Gates would ask him a question that was only heard between married people. She told Rock, "You're making out with me very quickly. Are you that quick with boys?" The question was harsh and direct. He was only 32 years old. The man who had been named one of the most desirable stars in the world was caught off guard. It wasn't just a wife's sadness, it was a well-thought-out attack. The truth wasn't important to Gates. She was gathering weapons. This next part was even stranger. When Hudson was pushed and cornered, he gave a quiet but deadly answer. He replied, "Well, it's a physical union. Boys don't belong. That's why it lasts longer." His words were straightforward. They showed how painful it was for a man to have to live two lives at the same time. In 1958, it was risky to say this out loud, even in secret. He could lose his job, his safety, and everything else with just a few bad words. However, he was speaking clearly on a recording that he wasn't even aware of. Gates kept going. She said he did what media and gossip groups had been saying for years. She told him, "Everyone knows that you started picking up boys on the street soon after we got married and have kept doing it ever since. You thought that being married would hide it." Huey tried to protect himself. "I've never picked up a boy off the street. I've never gone to a bar and picked up a guy. Never. I've only ever picked up boys to drive them somewhere. But the harm was already done." They got married in 1955, but they were no longer together by 1958. Gates said she was being mentally abused when she asked for a divorce. The town was very big. Gates got a house in the Hollywood Hills and $250 a week for 10 years. Today, that amount would be more than $1.3 million. No one outside of a small group of people knew these facts for decades. The tape was kept secret in Fred Otash's files. He had kept secrets for famous people like Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garland, and more. The files were kept secret for a while longer after he died in 1992. Then, between 2010 and 2020, his family let them go. Magazines, books, and films all told the truth. The world finally learned what happened that night. When Pillow Talk came out in theaters in October 1959, it wasn't just another love story movie. It was the movie that made Rock Hudson famous for life. He worked with Doris Day for the first time. It lit up the screen how well they got along. People were hooked. For its time, the story was fun and risky. After that, two people were made to share a phone line. Hudson played a songwriter who talked very smoothly. Doris Day was good at decorating rooms. There were lots of hints in the conversation. It made $18.75 million at the box office. In 1959, that was a lot of money. It was the most watched movie in the U.S. for 7 weeks in a row. It was the only time Doris Day was nominated for an Oscar. Hudson became the king of love comedies because of it. They were so well liked that Allied named both of them Stars of the Year for 1959. Their fans couldn't get enough of them. Hudson was loved by women. Men wished they were him. It was rare for them to make magic on TV. Their movies were new, funny, and hard to stay away from. After their first hit, 2 more hit movies came out with them. Lover Comeback came out in 1961 and rented for $7.6 million. Send Me No Flowers came out in 1964 and did very well at the box office. Their 3 movies together set the bar for comedies about love. People still think of them as some of the best things ever made. She was more than just a star behind the scenes. He took charge. He worked as an uncredited director on Lover Come Back through his 7 Pictures company. Through Gibraltar Productions, he did the same thing for Send Me No Flowers. A lot of actors didn't do that back then, but Hudson wanted to have a say in his business, and he got it. It wasn't just fun to watch his movies. They got rich and gave him power. People noticed how talented he was. He won the Golden Globe 4 years in a row for World Film Favorite Male from 1959 to 1963. It was rare to see that kind of streak. That was proof of how much people loved him. Many people thought he was one of the best actors ever, right up there with Cary Grant and Tony Curtis. Hudson didn't like just being a hunk. His first company was called 7 Pictures Corporation, and his second was called Gibraltar Productions. He was free now. He picked parts that interested him. In the earnings, he got a piece. He had a say in what took place. He stayed on top while others fell while he did this. The business sense he had opened doors for him that many artists could only dream of. However, not all of his choices turned out well. He turned down parts in Sayonara, The Bridge on the River Kwai, and Ben-Hur in the late 1950s. All three became well-known movies. He instead played the lead role in A Farewell to Arms in 1957. The movie didn't do well. It made people dislike him. Hudson later said he was sorry for what he did. He missed the chance to win an Oscar. When Hudson got seconds in 1966, he took another chance. The scary, dark movie was very different from his other movies. He played a man who was stuck in a scary new life. He got good reviews from critics, but people didn't go see him. It only made $1.75 million. Many years later, people still thought it was great, but it was a big blow at the time. Hudson tried to break out of his loving image one more time. In 1967, he played the lead role in Tobruk. In 1968, Ice Station Zebra. Both movies showed the tougher side of him. Zebra from Ice Station became his favorite color. The movie did well at the box office, but it didn't make back its huge cost. Hudson showed that he wasn't just good at romance. He could also handle action and drama. Hudson worked with John Wayne in the 1969 movie The Undefeated. He found out what the legend was about. Wayne stayed in shape by putting lifts in his boots, wearing very small shoes, and even wearing a corset. Hudson was 6'5" taller than Wayne, who was 6'3". Not only that, but Hudson was taller than most famous men of his time, even James Stewart. Being so tall made him stand out, but it also meant that directors had to get creative when they had to film him with other actors who were shorter. Rock Hudson had been a big name in Hollywood movies for many years. But in 1971, he did something that shocked a lot of people in the business. He quit the big screen and moved into people's living rooms by getting a lead part on TV. At that time, this move was seen as a step down for a big star. A lot of people thought that TV was where lost stars went, but Hudson showed them all wrong. He agreed to play Stuart McMillan, the police commissioner, on McMillan and Wife, and was paid a crazy $100,000 to $120,000 for each show. A TV star at the time would almost never get that much money. Today, that would be more than $800,000 an episode if you take inflation into account. It wasn't just about the cash. There were between 90 and 2 hours of shows. They were like short shows. People couldn't get enough of Hudson, who was the show's star power. From September 17, 1971 to April 24, 1977, the show ran. It had 40 full-length episodes over the course of 6 seasons. All of them made me feel like I was watching a movie at home. When it aired on NBC on Sunday nights, it was in the same time slot as hit shows like Columbo and McCloud. Hudson played the beautiful police chief of San Francisco, and Susan St. James played Sally, his smart wife. People loved them both together. Hudson did more than just make movies. He was funny and dramatic enough to carry a TV show. He was with the show from the beginning to the end, even when the group changed for the last season. Hudson wrote more than just crime shows. He also showed off his funny side. He was on The Carol Burnett Show and Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, 2 well-known comedy shows. The two of them even danced in a funny number on The Carol Burnett Show. When they saw his 6'5" frame next to her short body, they both laughed. Hudson didn't mind making fun of himself or the idea that he was a hot hunk. These events kept him in the news and let people see a different side of him. After McMillan and Wife, Hudson worked on big TV shows that were just as grand as movies. The 1978 movie Wheels was about the American auto business, and he played the lead role. The show, which was based on a book by Arthur Haley, had a big story and a big cast. Hudson played a strong car executive, and people were hooked. He wrote The Martian Chronicles in 1980, which was based on Ray Bradbury's famous science fiction book of the same name. In the 3-night miniseries, he played Colonel John Wilder, who was in charge of sending ships from Earth to Mars. Hudson gave the part a lot of depth. especially in scenes that dealt with loss, hope, and what it means to be human. Other stars of his time had a hard time as Hollywood changed, but Hudson's decision to work in TV kept him relevant. He proved that TV could be just as fun as movies. During the 1980s, he was still in high demand and did guest roles and specials. A lot of movie stars followed his lead when they moved from movies to TV. He played Daniel Reese on the hit show Dynasty from 1984 to 1986. That he made $100,000 per show, which is about $300,000 today, was crazy. Crystal Carrington, played by Linda Evans, fell in love with him. It was his last part. Fans were very happy to see him back on TV. Behind the scenes, though, Hudson was having a terrible time. It looked like Hudson was just going to the doctor in June 1984 when he found out he had Kaposi's sarcoma. At the time, it was thought to be closely linked to AIDS. The news was terrible. Back then, having AIDS meant death because there was no cure or effective medicine. Hudson did not tell anyone, not even his friends, about his illness. He looked for help everywhere, even going to Paris to try out new methods. He kept working the whole time, covering up his pain. It was terrible to film Dynasty. He had to film a scene where he and Linda Evans kiss. The makers wanted more takes to make it look like they cared more. Hudson was afraid of putting her in danger, even though science now says that kind of casual touch is safe. Between takes, he closed his mouth and used mouthwash. At that time, he said it was the worst day of his life. When it was finally confirmed that he was sick in July 1985, the news went crazy. Evans, who had kissed him on screen, and even director Aaron Spelling caused a lot of worry. Hotlines were flooded with scared people calling. People were afraid because they didn't know how AIDS spread. Not everyone on the group would go near Evans. The event made the business deal with the ignorance and shame surrounding AIDS. Evans stood by Hudson and used the chance to ask people to be kind and understanding. Rock. His search for a cure became one of the world's most talked about events. He didn't hide when he found out he had AIDS. He began to look for anything that might help him. He flew all the way to Paris in July 1985. That's where he went to try a new drug called HPA-23. That thing was made by the Institut Pasteur and wasn't sold in the US. But it wasn't easy for him to fight even in Paris. The hospital there wouldn't take him because they wouldn't treat people with AIDS. They told him that he had to tell them about his illness or they would do it for him. It was up to Hudson. The world saw how hard it was for people with AIDS to get care because of his fight. People saw the red tape, the lack of choices, and the fear caused by the disease. The news outlets watched everything he did. His fight made it clear that we need better care and more money right away. His friends even went to the White House and asked for help, but the Reagan government said no. Even so, Hudson's courage moved a lot of people. People gave money because of his story, and right after he died, Congress quickly set aside $221 million for AIDS research. Rock Hudson passed away peacefully at his Beverly Hills home on October 2, 1985. He was 59 years old. He had told everyone about his illness just 3 months before. Everyone was shocked by his death. He was the first big-name American star to die from problems caused by AIDS. The news got around the world. For those who thought AIDS was a far-off issue, it became clear very quickly that anyone could get it, even a famous Hollywood star. People became more aware after Hudson's death. It helped bring down the walls of fear and lack of knowledge. It became more important to study AIDS. Giving increased by over 2 times in just a few weeks. Congress sent money right away to fight the disease. A lot of famous people from Hollywood came to his funeral.